e-gaming bets, online betting for every esports fan. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, CSGO and Overwatch, StarCraft 2, the choice is yours. Express bets for multiple matches or live bets on the game you are watching right now. Know your way around Dota 2? Make a prediction for picks and bans. Playing CSGO? Guess the number of rounds in a certain match. Daily quest for all participants and all the best choice of payment systems. More than 600,000 users have already made their bets on the spectacular matches since 2011. EGB.com. You know for sure who's gonna win.
Welcome back to the PGL CSGO Minor Championships here in Asia, one of the many qualifiers happening in the minor system that Valve has introduced last year to get all the teams organized to go to the big major that's being run by E-League this year. This time we've got MVP taking on TyLoo. Again, we're doing the Group A matches, so now we're at the upper bracket winner matches. So basically the way the system works is you win 2 best-of-1s, you're into the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you happen to lose one of those, you're going to drop down and you got some best-of-3s to win or lose to get all the way out.
Yeah.
So we're finishing out Group A, and then we'll drop down to the bottom of Group A and finish out all those lower bracket matches. So we were talking about some banter online, and I think basically someone said to you, now TyLoo is going to have to try, right?
Yeah, HLTV fans, they got it right always, don't they?
Now it's time for them to play some Counter-Strike.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently they don't try when they lose. That's, I guess, is the moral of the story.
I think that's just how it is with any team really is now. Never try.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I think coming into this matchup, I feel like they are the favorites. I think they're the more complete team. For pound, they have what it takes to really to be the better players in the server, but also they've shown us, especially internationally, that they're capable of really challenging the big dogs. So in my books, at least, TyLoo has to be the favorite.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, and I think that's going to be the case for every matchup that they run into in this scenario, except for maybe Renegades. I think that's when you kind of have to start weighing things from on both sides. But other than that, TyLoo have to come into this being favorites, and I think they know that as well. It's not like it's going to be taking them by surprise that people expect them to win and qualify for the next offline qualifier. As for MVP, I'm not really sure where to put them right now. I'm kind of disappointed by the fact that I didn't see more progress on train from what we saw in them in the first game. I expected them to take it a bit of a step in the right direction instead of being so discombobulated and basically showing us that they obviously there hasn't been too much time since Kiev, but they've still been at a status quo.
Right? So
yeah, they've still been at a status quo, at least when it comes to that map, which is a bit of a letdown. And
you mentioned Renegades earlier, so I just want to give everyone an update at home. They did play and beat Team Bot 16-1 in that Group B side. And again, those Go TVs are available on Half-Life TV, and also I believe some people are trying to stream not only casting but just observing those matches. So you got a couple of varieties to watch the Group B matches. So that means that Bot will then drop down. They'll play Fire Dragoons to
survive.
Best of 3 to survive. Let's get into the rosters. Again, we're going to have you walk us through the MVP guys first.
Well, MVP guys, as we mentioned from the previous games, Argency, Sign, Sound, Rinda, and Aegis K. Argency, Rinda, and Sound kind of in the the fillers in the sense that they don't necessarily have the biggest impact on a normal basis, but they're all riflers. They don't have a specific designated role in that sense. HSK being their in-game leader and their opper, so he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders to kind of make that team work, especially on their T sides. And then you have Sign, who's the youngest guy in the entire team, but also, at least in my eyes, they're their best player.
Yeah, he's the one that can bail them out in situations where things are not going their way. Even in the rounds where they do end up doing an actual execute and they go for something that looks really decisive, he's the one that has to produce those frags coming into attack, especially on T side, for them to be successful in their rounds.
Yep.
And the other side of the coin, obviously, they got to play somebody, so they're going to play TyLoo. We've obviously talked about them quite a bit, but let's kind of jump into them a little bit. As we mentioned,
Was there a pun in there? Somebody?
No pun. No pun intended. Let's go with Natu. You walk us through this.
All right. Captain Mill, fancy attacker, somebody, and Simon apparently now. DD. All right then. We went through these guys previously. I highlighted Mo. I'm going to highlight him again. He's a tremendous operator in my eyes. He makes a lot of nice moves. Knows and reads situations correctly. That's a very important factor of being an operator, understanding when you can push and when you kind of have to fall back. And he has shown to me that he can do that on a consistent basis.
I think it helps that having him in the team, obviously being the operator and kind of being a reliable kind of guy, because he is the one with the 1.6 experience from many years ago, being the old head in the team. So I think that he was a very good calming factor or calming guy to have in the team for a lot of these Chinese guys.
I think in terms of this lineup altogether, the great fact for them is that the depth in skill. Like, there's always going to be that next guy, even if someone's underperforming, not playing as well, then they'll have another guy coming in, and he will have the numbers on the board too for TyLoo to do great. And
you remember on the MVP side, they've hired Rambo, world-famous 3D player Rambo from the United States. He's moving to Korea next month in November. I certainly imagine they wish he was here right now standing behind them. This is definitely going to be a much tougher test than Atletico probably was, but that was probably closer than it should have been maybe, although not to discredit Atletico. But on paper, that maybe should have been MVPs to win easier.
Yeah, and I think on paper, MVP made it harder for themselves than it should have been, because we remember from the veto, they were the ones who had the last ban as well, so they could have gone the route of banning up Train, because we've seen it. They've been sloppy on Train in the past, and they weren't any better this time around. I think they're definitely going to steer away from it versus TyLoo, because it makes no sense in the world to actually end up on that map versus TyLoo. So hopefully they've done the homework and they're not going to make it a lot harder for themselves than it has to be, because I think if that's going to be the case, then they're just going to get stomped completely.
All right, well, let's take a look at the veto. Again, each team will take turns banning a grand total of 6 of the maps, leaving the final map. Walk us through this one.
Well, it's fun to see Cobblestone be banned straight away from TyLoo, which is a map I think they made quite famous for themselves previously on the international scene. Now we see them banning that first, maybe because that's the one map MVP actually picked up against TyLoo in the 9 games they played with each other on, that I have on record at least. And then you have Cash from MVP being banned, TyLoo going for the nuke ban. Then you had MVP take out Train, overpass by TyLoo, Mirage, then by MVP, and we end up with Dust 2. Yeah. Someone said Dust 2 before we get on.
I want to point out that the host, not really an analyst, except when I show up at E-League Week 4, I nailed that one. Dust 2. We basically all thought it was going to be Dust 2 or Cobblestone, basically, based on the teams. And they're both really good on Dust 2. Last 3 months, TyLoo is 8-1 at LAN play, and MVP's 3-0 at it. So they're undefeated. And obviously, they've both played a bunch online, too.
Yeah, and apparently they haven't played each other on Dust 2.
They have not. And they have played each other once in the last 3 months on LAN, and Project came out ahead 1-2. And that was, where did we say that was?
ISF.
ISF, yep.
TyLoo won the best of 3, but MVP picked up a map.
Yes.
That was Cobblestone.
Yes, exactly.
What was in the map was Cobblestone, right?
Yes, that's how it played out, and which is fairly surprising, especially because Overpass, which was the third map, ended up 16-14. So that's obviously MVP pushing TyLoo to the brink, which wasn't necessarily expected. I at least expected a 2-0 from TyLoo's end, and definitely didn't see the MVP winning in that kind of a convincing fashion on Cobble. So that's fun. They've definitely shown progress on certain maps. Maybe not Train is the one for them, but Cobble obviously improving a lot, because we saw TyLoo shocking everyone during Malmo on that map. And it's been a while, and teams have probably looked into it, and they've probably changed up things as well since then. But we've known that they're definitely competent on it, so that does give credit to MVP as well. But I think going into Dust 2, I think MVP can be okay with this. I don't think this is a bad map pick at all, because one of the few maps that TyLoo over the course of the year actually have lost to other teams in this region, that's Dust 2, and that's predominantly versus Vici Gaming, but I still think that's a sign of that being one of their weaker maps in their entire map pool. Not that it's, to say that they're gonna start losing or that every team should start picking against them, but it is actually one of the few places where they've shown a sign of weakness in against other Asian teams.
Yeah, I mean, Dust 2 is a map we often quote as the puggy kind of a map, but it takes a lot of teamwork and takes a lot of intuition in terms of City side to kind of take risks always. You're going to leave out a specific area on the map that you're not going to put focus on. For such, as an example, a lot of teams hold long, but they'll let the T's get catwalk and then kind of play a retake on A, or they'll have a heavy focus on middle and play on catwalk and kind of leave long open for T's to come in, right? On the T side, you kind of have to read on what's going on, where the kills are coming in from, and then you kind of make a judgment call from there on out. And that's something I don't feel like it's going to be MVP strengths, right? So that's my one concern for them going into this one.
All right, well, let's bring our friends from Face It in. Again, as always, all weekend, Dan and James. Initial thoughts on the veto process, and then it ended up being Dust 2, gentlemen.
I mean, I was with you. I thought Dust 2 and Cobblestone were probably most likely. But I do feel like TyLoo are going to get the better end of the stick no matter what happens. And especially on Dust 2, I feel like pound for pound, they are very strong individually. And I think that just plays heavily into their favor.
Yeah, I think they have to be a favourite going into this match. Whether they can be upset or not is another question. Look forward to seeing their opponents try, though. That's for sure.
Any particular thoughts on what side would matter? I mean, it's Dust 2, so it kind of maybe doesn't matter so much these days, or? I
mean, for me, the focus really is going to be a player like HSK on the defensive side, because I feel like the way TyLoo could really run away with this is with the aggression that they're so good at and the hard-hitting rifle plays. And you need someone like HSK to be able to anchor down on the A-bomb site and stop them from having that easy option on the A-bomb site. By they need to be able to. He has to force them to flash him off and smoke him off these angles and just give them the right respect, basically. Otherwise, if HSK goes down in the car position on A, I think that's kind of the game over for me, because Sign can only do so much.
Oh, I'm quite curious to see what Sign does on the T side. We're going to see him charging down mid, for example, like Freakazoid used to do for Cloud9, or going through the doors. I mean, he could be a game changer, but then again, he could just get picked off early, as we saw in some of the rounds in the previous map. So it could go either way. Maybe he'll be a key player for MVP, whether they win or lose this match.
All right, gentlemen, the players are ready, so that means it's your turn to take over. Enjoy the match.
All right, and one thing we didn't really get into too much was the AWPing possibilities here for both teams. When it came to Mirage in the previous league for TyLoo, we saw that they're pretty comfortable if they need to bring out double AWPs, that they can do it. It can be a healthy mix-up for them, but they don't have to go to it either, which is always, for me, a very good sign, because obviously it gives you a lot of, it can be very dynamic. You don't feel like, this player has to have an AWP. Like, people can play AWPs, they can play rifles, that's really good. But when I'm looking at MVP and their chances in this one, another reason why I think they might struggle a little bit more on the CT side, which is probably the more important side for them to do well on, is because I'm not convinced on their ability to double up. That's where, but I guess they'll have to show me otherwise.
Yeah, I think you could get away with one up on this particular map. My focus on this map is going to be what the T's do with double doors in mid. Specifically, that's where the interest lies for me. How they're going to discern what the CTs are doing in terms of setup. If they're going to be able to pick people who are close to the doors with flashbangs and so on, or suggest fakes as well towards the B bomb site. Those are the big cues for me. We will find out soon enough. The ninth round about to begin. So indeed, I think it's hard to argue against TyLoo being a favourite in this match in general.
I wonder if we'll see a few different kind of phases of this match. For example, TyLoo in their first matchup today earlier against NXL, they were clearly in this kind of first phase where they're like, well, actually, we can just kind of run over you guys with our individual skill. We're actually winning all these rounds, which we shouldn't, just because we're able to, win 1vx situations, which we shouldn't. And so, you have to force them to give you the respect by being able to frag up to par, basically, to frag on an even playing field with them. So I feel like that's maybe the first test. And again, I think the outcome of the match can definitely really hinge on who can play that T side first. If TyLoo get running off on the T side first, actually, I'm afraid for MVP, but we'll see. Oh, he's going to do it, James. I mean, and this is pretty important. I think TyLoo are likely going to pick the T side if they win this knife round. We don't usually watch knife rounds, James.
No.
This is a new thing for us again.
I enjoy looking at the knives, though.
Oh, he messed it up.
I've got better knives than him. I've got better knives than him. I've got better knives than him. I think there was a player who had a stat track, what do you call it? Karambit, the Spider's Web one. Crimson Web, which I think might be better than mine, finally. So I haven't seen one that's better than mine then. This is what I look for in the knife rounds.
Yeah, sometimes the side can be very important. Some people prefer the coin flip solution, but the knife round is a very traditional way to do things in Counter-Strike, and traditions die hard in some cases. I don't think anyone really cares to remove them, actually. I think if people really were very against them, they wouldn't be in the game anymore at this point. But anyway, interestingly, MVP will actually choose to start off on the CT side. So they are clearly finding comfort there. And they did find comfort there against Atletico. So we'll have to see if that can be the same situation against TyLoo here on the pistol.
So we have Urgency, who's been boosted up into the mid area. Is he going to go all the way up towards top mid, though? As time ticks on, he's going to expect somebody to be in lower tunnel. At least that will be the case during the buy rounds. Sign going to be going for the up-close peek, which is quite interesting, especially with the USP. Ideally, people want to have the range advantage with that USP, but from that distance, he will be susceptible to the one-shots. TyLoo with 2 players in long at the moment. Sound is behind the barrels, I believe, on a site. From that distance, even if he shoots him in the head, they'll still be alive.
Yeah.
I've tested this myself.
I mean, interestingly, MVP, I don't know if the decoy tricked them or what exactly the pressure maybe towards B, but they had 3 players towards B. They're actually pushing them, and TyLoo actually, if they want to capitalize on that fact, they have to move very quickly now. They have to really get themselves onto that A-bomb side. And Sound is waiting with the USP. He can play them off the barrels, which is actually quite nice from this angle. You can see him doing that, just playing with the barrels, although he gets killed immediately by DD there as he pushes his way forwards. And MVP have a really nice retake set up. They've got the flank coming in there, and that is a Sign actually coming in from the back. Let's see if they'll be able to stop the main push, though, because, well, okay, that's going to be the case. Rinder and Sign picking up the frags they need. They're kind of making a nice hold here right now as TyLoo do just barely get the bomb planted, which is a consolation, but perhaps they were a little bit slow there.
With Sign coming in from long, there's basically nowhere for TyLoo to hide. So MVP get the start they want. Again, they're coming into this as the underdogs, so that is a big round for them, and I think you could hear how big it was for them. Urgency and Rinder with 2 kills apiece in that particular round. Let's see what TyLoo opt to do. They got the bomb plant down. However, DD's gone for the force buy with the UMP. So maybe looking to take MVP by surprise in this situation. Often you can, the norm is to wait for the AKs in round 3, Dan, but they've gone for the force buy, 2 UMPs and 3 rifles.
I really like this as well. This is something, this kind of aggression that we might see. Would it be nice actually to see him just like try to charge down towards the B-bomb site, but they're actually just going to hold now. And I believe MVP have not spotted anything just yet, so MVP don't necessarily know what's going on. So they may be expecting Glocks, which is one of the reasons why this is quite strong. Although we did hear the Deagle get fired off there, so perhaps not convinced. Let's see if MVP are susceptible to all the weaponry that TyLoo have invested in. HSK going close. Will they expect 2 players here, TyLoo? Flash comes in. Great crossfire, though. But there is the entry, although a bit of a team kill coming in as well. But I think they'll be okay with this. However, the bomb is in a forward position here. That is problematic.
Oh, man. It's almost in CT spawn. That is a very deep angle. But look at Sound. Sound is top mid. And he is on a huge flank. They're going to get sandwiched between 2 players. Rinder putting in massive work there. Loads of red players. And Urgency coming in to support. Sound gets the last kill. Another round on the board for MVP. Nice anti-force buy round from them. There are 2 kills on the TyLoo side so far. Unlikely to be many more in this particular round as it's the big eco coming in now. $2,000 per player. Not much they can do.
Well then.
Well, apparently we're in the club then. 2 Deagles being bought by Mo and DD, so they're spending quite a lot of money, down to 1,600 each, or most down to $1,450. So perhaps hamstringing their economy somewhat in the rounds to come. We'll see what they have to offer in the buy round, but for now we'll see what damage they can do. Ooh, one player's gone past the angle already. Rinder may get taken by surprise, and indeed, also, Sign is going to go down. HSK soon to follow, so there's big damage being done here by TyLoo. Rinder's on 6 HP.
Yeah, I don't know how he's still alive at this point. Lucky to be alive, but DD is still lurking. He has a flank eventually to worry about, but if he can just claim this kill onto the very weakened Rinder, that would be nice, but he won't. Rinder in a safe position, and that will be another round for MVP. And this is really good for them because, one of the problems, one of the big issues on the CT side is having good money, and this will not be something MVP have to worry about too much just yet. They've managed to win some of those rounds, although they did take some damage in the previous one. If they're able to cement this one, that will cause another eco, and that's when MVP really start to have some fun. But first they must deal with the AKs, and we've not yet seen this really from TyLoo. So have to see what they have in store for MVP. Does look like they're going for a default at the moment, just spreading towards the tunnels along. We would expect in the next 20 seconds for them to start moving in towards catwalk, maybe entry through the double doors on middle, and that would complete the default. But MVP do have some presence here on catwalk. There's Argency, just trying to take some information.
TyLoo, again, they did hamstring themselves in terms of utility with those Deagle buys in the previous round. That said, they did some good damage, so we'll see if it pays off for them, but they'll be limited in what they can do with an execute. Rinder getting cheeky through the doors, exploiting those smokes that are down, but no opportunities presented themselves. Minutes on the clock here for TyLoo. Somebody lurking towards long doors, somewhat. Passive angle from him. Sound is going to be in the pit for the time being. Argency trying to avoid flashbangs coming in. I mean, TyLoo are being slowed down quite a lot here. There are 40 seconds left. Just starting to emerge on short now. Spotted by CT. Meaty grenade coming in. Not too much damage though. The counter flashes as well. TyLoo are nowhere near the site. They are running out of time here.
Yeah, they're just going to have to barrel into the bomb site at this point. They're pretty much in a position where they're committed. And MVP should realize that as soon as they see the first bullet fired, as everyone from TyLoo starts to come into this position. This is what we talked about previously. Can HSK hit the shots there? Misses one, that's 1 for 2, but he won't get the chance to fire a third. And that will be the bomb planted there in the short position here. And nice cover there from somebody using the little steps there to find a good engagement. And all of a sudden, TyLoo went from a bad situation to a very good one. And the player passes him by, but still he's in position here. And Sign has no idea. He has no idea. Oh, there we go. And, of course, another team kill. Very nice.
Yeah, why not? Just throw it in there. Everyone should die in that situation, so I'll just finish off the job. TyLoo, indeed, getting worried on the clock. We saw them charging towards the site with no flashbangs, no flashes to force the CT from its position. Like if you, in an ideal world, you have the flashes bouncing off the slope to keep the T blind. I think we had a match, I think it was E-League, where Skadoodle against Mousebots was constantly blinded in that position, so he was rendered useless in many, many rounds. Either way, indeed, TyLoo with less utility will still win the round, and that's putting MVP straight onto the pistol, so perhaps that damage with those Deagles was enough to put them in this situation. Gamble has paid off in that respect. Deagles coming out for MVP, so far so good. Fancy getting taken down. There are guns to protect now for the T side, but it'll cost them.
And there is still a player close by, but that will be dealt with by DD. I was actually very worried that Sign might make a quick kill there in that position, but TyLoo holding it down. And here come the rest of the CTs, the stragglers moving forwards into the fire of DD, and he will handle that wonderfully. Just Sound left now. And one thing you don't often tend to talk too much about in as spectators at Counter-Strike is the situation with communication. And previously, I noticed a situation where Argency was on catwalk with HSK. HSK had the orb, and Argency was trying to boost, basically. But HSK didn't seem to want to boost. And so you have this weird communication thing where Argency's just running around him as he's scoped in, trying to get the boost there. So I did wonder about that, because normally you have the AWPer call for the boost, and that's it, basically. So obviously you must have had that call on the comms, but then basically just denied Argency. So that's interesting.
Nice padding of the statistics there for DD, getting all 5 kills in that round. Now we have the standard play coming out from TyLoo, moving towards lower tunnel. Checking for aggression towards short. MVP, like how active they're being. Abandoning CT spawn at the beginning of the round, then putting a player there later. So a slow approach from TyLoo. Looking for some aggression from the CT side as well, but perhaps MVP's money isn't in the right spot to be doing that. HSK makes his presence known, but he can always rotate elsewhere, and indeed you can see him walking probably towards the car again. Minutes on the clock, around 40 seconds maybe is when TyLoo will start their charge. Sign with a very nice off angle, because when you're going to be that deep, you're probably looking towards the window and then the door, so his position can make the difference. Presume he's dropped something for his teammates. He's got a P250 and 2. We'll see what MVP can do with all these P250s. So fairly reasonable investment into this round. Short push coming in, but TyLoo have charged straight into B.
Yeah, very nice. One of the two most common anti-eco type rounds, either rush into B or rush into A long. Doesn't have to be necessarily be a rush, but you want to get all the bodies in there together. That's exactly what they did, and they have DD lurking on the other side of the map, catching frags left and right. And that's going to work out pretty well here for the TyLoo side. They're really starting to come back into this. They didn't let MVP run away with it too much with that good CT start that they had. Straight back in this, 4-3 now. And it's interesting as well the style of TyLoo, or the style that they are opting for against these buys of MVP, because we've seen largely them go for very, very slow rounds, perhaps baiting some aggression from MVP, but MVP don't seem like they want to do that too much. So TyLoo don't catch too much early into the round or even into the mid phases, then they're just forced to run in, and that's never a good place to be, but they seem to be hitting their entries okay anyway.
DD's the king of anti-eco frags so far in this match. He's got 10 frags, but at least 7 of those have been when his opponents have had pistols, so let's not go too crazy on those statistics. TyLoo with the lead, MVP back on the buy, and indeed HSK will have an AWP. Urgency quite short. I'm assuming he dropped an AWP for his teammate, but might have a few more grenades if so much wasn't spent in the previous rounds. So what is the play from MVP? They're going to be charging through the double doors. I like this, the lower tunnel play. It's going to take attacker by surprise. Trades coming in though. There are 2 more Ts there, but the kill will go in favor of the CTs, pushing for the smoke now. That's always nice to see. Somebody will go down, and we're in a 2 versus 1 situation, and that is a super fast round. I like the push through the smoke and upper tunnel when all the action's happening on lower, because you're always going to be focusing down there, especially when a clear out comes in. Nice stuff done by MVP, taking the match straight back into their hands.
Yeah, it's a very timely round to win. TyLoo, though, again, you know, you have to be worried when they have any kinds of weaponry on their side, because the crazy aggression is always possible to see from them. And so far, MVP, they haven't been the best at receiving the aggression. We've seen them be good at giving the aggression to TyLoo, as in the previous round. And once again, they're going to go with that option. Just give the aggression, throwing it back into the lower tunnels here. And they find a frag on to Fancy. And that's going to be really nice. And once again, Argency is capitalizing with the upper tunnels push. And this time it was much more difficult to deal with, I think, for the TyLoo player up there. And TyLoo now forced to go into A. And there is the entry, the key entry, but down to 3 HP is Mo. It's going to be very tough, and the bomb could be isolated there on top mid. Indeed, it will be, and that's the bomb down. And surely the chances with the round to win the round with it as well for MVP, or rather for TyLoo.
Yeah, the bomb's been taken away. And that's before Sign made his way into T-spawn through B tunnels. So continuing to push after that aggression. Paid off really well for MVP. Mo down to 3 HP. All of 3 HP in this round. Rinda spots some players there. He could just be a nuisance and kill both of them on his own. Really nice stuff from MVP. And that should crush the T economy. Indeed, it more or less has. Attacker with some extra money to spend. But for the most part, this is an eco round here for the T side. This was one, I say important frag for TyLoo, but it was the only frag they got in that round, unfortunately for them. MVP not allowing TyLoo to impose their will anymore, and that's really great to see, especially against a team who on paper are stronger than them. Taking the fight to them, really nice stuff. Lots of action here towards long though.
Yeah, it's looking really nice here. Pretty simple hold, but they are actually losing some players. Are MVP, which is pretty problematic. HSK in a pretty awkward position by the car, but able to pick up an extra frag. So damage done. I think TyLoo actually can really be happy with how the round played out, despite not getting a bomb plant. They have definitely kept the money a little bit more honest here for MVP, as they have to delve deep into their reserves to get a full buyout. And yeah, a significant impact actually, as TyLoo now bring out the AKs once again. But they haven't been finding the kind of success that they want. And a key part of that is because MVP had thrown in aggressions into lower tunnels in these very key rounds. And that's just worked so incredibly well. So MVP again with the aggression.
This may have trained TyLoo to be more passive and a lot slower in lower tunnel. They were reluctant to even move into the beginning of it, looking at the radar. And they're slowly moving into lower tunnel. Now there is a player on short. That's HSK, hiding due to the smoke, which presumably was thrown by TyLoo. Time to back off, however.
Yeah, and as you say, if the conditioning really is happening there for TyLoo as they do take it slower, that is an opportunity for HSK to stay out there on catwalk with the AWP for much longer than normally you would. It's sad to see no boost for him or anything like that, though, to really double down in that investment, although they are going to be fairly present towards middle still. TyLoo very slow. HSK with a classic position there on the crate, and it's a pretty easy shot for most AWPers, and HSK is going to collect that one onto Mo. So TyLoo really having to fight for positioning on Dust 2. MVP always giving it a cost to push forwards here, and now TyLoo have to make the push onto the A-bomb site work pretty much. They don't have anybody in the tunnels there to keep track of their flank, so pretty committed towards A, and here they go.
We have Argency in the goose position, so he can wait while the AWPer baits for him. Playing super deep. Nice crouching, but Argency, he could get two-man spray down here, and indeed he will. The third is there, and that's the bomb. Nicely done by MVP. That has absolutely ruined this buy of TyLoo, leaving somebody in a 1 versus 5. And he's going to get wrecked as well. Pause has been called. Lovely stuff by MVP, not losing a single player. I think they've had 9 players survive in 2 rounds, so that's massive for their economy.
Yeah, and Argency in that boost position, the goose position is so strong to deal with this kind of push, because you come at an off angle, you can see that the TyLoo players moving in there. It's just on face value, you think, okay, why are they looking at that position? There's just so many positions for them to have to worry about, and that gives Argency a lot of liberty in the kind of off angle that he chooses to take, the engagement, the timing of his engagement, and again, you're usually getting 1 or 2 kills there, or at least delaying or killing the bomb plant entirely. So very, very strong when you have a player in that position when an A player is coming in. Argency did it justice. 7-4 is a great result here for MVP so far on the CT side, the defensive side. The side where I felt like they may have the most problems. This bodes very well for them against the favored team in TyLoo, the invited team.
Yeah, they are picking their aggressions very well. And the coordination is definitely there for MVP. And I do wonder if anybody spotted this smoke because they're not holding. Well, now they have. And it's time to back off. Don't want to overextend if you're MVP, but they're doing that. Nobody's watching low tunnel. He's in the smoke. This is mad cheeky, but this is like a force buy for TyLoo. Maybe not the best time for such aggression, playing into the advantages of their team, but a two-man spray down may disable this push of TyLoo. Have they done enough damage? TyLoo have managed to steal an AWP away, but Sound is not going to wait any longer. Will he be fast enough? He will. Spots one player towards short as well, so that's information for his team. Not the bomb carrier, though. Where is the bomb? There's nobody in B for MVP now.
Yeah, they are fixing that problem though, and yeah, they are really truly playing with fire. They're just going hyper aggressive against Tech9s. That is best case for TyLoo in many respects, but MVP managed to somehow make the frags happen. Very, very risky business though, and I mean, the thing is that you got to hand it to them because maybe they feel like they have to. Maybe MVP feel like they have to take big risks to take down TyLoo. And so far, every big risk they've taken has been fantastic. It's all worked out wonderfully. All these very aggressive pushes. TyLoo seem, I mean, they could get into this spot where maybe they get into their own heads, but let's see if we have any frags here made by somebody with the key orb that was picked up. Nice flick there, just spinning around, still finds the target. And is there any more targets to be found here? The bomb is planted. There is hope here for TyLoo in this round.
They need that orb to go huge. The barrels is a great spot to do it in. Completely susceptible to flashbangs. Nobody hasn't been spotted, and that's 2 players down on short. That's brutal. 4 HP Rinder to try and clutch this. What is happening to this round? And now they've got the trade frag situation as well because 1 player's on short, and there it is. TyLoo have stolen that round away.
That is nuts. That is so crazy.
And look what it's done to the money of MVP. They can still buy in this round, but they're not going to have much, if anything, left.
The problem is this like crazy push. I mean, Rinder's lucky to get 2 frags there. I mean, obviously the players don't have helmets, and that's kind of how he ends up getting those two quick kills. But the fact is that in most situations, for a T player in a round like this to pick up an AWP, you have to play super aggressively. Because if an AWP dies usually in a round like that, the Ts will have to go very deep into a very terrible position, like deep or middle, to pick up the AWP. So it's not really easily recoverable. So yeah, it's I think I saw the aggression not paying off indeed for MVP in that spot against Tech9s, biting off more than they could chew, and in this round a similar tale. Argency caught on the aggression. Maybe all this aggression from MVP is a little bit too easy to read for TyLoo now. Yeah,
you can see Argency playing a spot where you can't see that short. You can't see that short player if you're top mid unless you go through suicide, which has its name for a reason, or you're in lower tunnel. Now the problems are compounding for MVP, and the lead that they worked so hard to gain is disappearing round by round. You have to wonder if they're going to be able to recover from this.
Yeah, and in many respects, I think at the very least with 7 rounds, that is really good. Because again, I was afraid of let's say TyLoo doing a 12-3 or an 11-4 to MVP or something similar. Nice catch there by Mo. But yeah, just Sign left to try to stay alive with the AK. And interestingly now as well, I mean, MVP are going to be put into a position where do they decide to go aggressive again on the next spy round, which will be their last spy round? Or do they just decide to mix it up completely and play passively? Because all of their success has purely been found in aggressive play on the CT side. And that is an inherently risky business. And in a best of 1, though, that is when the risky stuff can pay off in those isolated situations. But TyLoo, they're bringing themselves back into this, a renewed confidence off of that amazing clutch.
Yeah, MVP, their lead is slipping away from them. 3-man spray down for DD. I'm telling you, man, DD, more than like 2/3 of his kills have just been anti-eco. He's just wiping out these anti-eco rounds, which is still great stuff. But he's charging towards the top of the scoreboard now with 17 kills. I think at the very least 10 of those are anti-eco frags. So that's why you can't look at statistics sheets too much. Last round, and MVP managed to get an AWP onto HSK, which is great. 4 rifles as well, and quite reasonable utility. They have enough flashes if they were to choose some aggression to if they had good timing with the flashbangs, then they've got enough utility for that. But let's see. TyLoo have a superior buy in many senses. Attacker lining up for the Xbox smoke grenade. That's the one that the CTs will often stand behind, especially on pistol rounds. There are times you get that on the pistol round, we've seen many rounds won by CT standing behind that smoke.
So nice forward positioning here for TyLoo onto Catwalk soon, if they decide to actually go a little bit deeper. Obviously, this is the kind of time where you would expect a team to start, getting the pop flash in the double doors, get the information, try to work out whether the CD setup is going to be a 2-3 or a 2-1-2 kind of deal. And at the moment, MVP, they've got all 3 players towards A, and that's a very nice pick off there. Unusual miss, perhaps, from that position for HSK. And TyLoo now have quite a lot of pressure. There's a lot of time in the round, and they're going to pick up a frag in double doors as well. That's really bad here for MVP, if it wasn't already bad enough. And that might be Sign now forced to try to push up a dark or make a play at this point, because he is going to be alone, and help is very far away. Sign on the crates. Can he do anything from this position? Absolutely not. Shut down by Fancy, and that is not a good position to be in. Nice round there from TyLoo in the end, dismantling MVP, and they take it 8-7. So MVP's momentum stopped in the end.
Yeah, I think it was just unfortunate timing with the aggression in one particular round, and the dominoes
against the Tech Nines,
continue to fall. Yeah, continue to fall into this situation. So TyLoo have a lead, but now comes the pistol. So it's another chance for either side to get some more momentum going in their favour and get a good lead if they can survive anti-ecos, anti-force buys. So we're going to see HSK Grenade Man for the T side on this occasion. And DD will be Smoke Grenade Diffuse Kit. T's moving out towards long in numbers. There's only Attacker on his own to deal with these people. So if they're fast, they can play the numbers game despite having the range disadvantage. Attacker popping out there, gets one frag, backs off, smart stuff. Another one, very patient play by him. Lovely to see. Got a good head start for his team before the bomb goes down.
Yeah, and he can do more work still, but perhaps not taken down by Elevator finally. Somebody comes in though. Pinpoint accuracy displayed from the TyLoo players now as only HSK remains for MVP. And he's got to do something incredible, but he will not be able to achieve that. TyLoo pick up the pistol round, and they can start off their CT side just as MVP did, with a superior economy to their opponents. The only difference here is that previously a bomb actually went down for the T side. This time MVP unable to do the same. So they will be forced to just pick up some pistols. And there you go. The force buy comes out. And TyLoo, they've picked up just rifles, basically, with the exception of one UMP there for Mo.
Ooh, this grenade, is it fast enough? Double grenade coming in, and that is a quite reasonable damage, but the spray will be even better. Good money bonus as well. Argency, where are you, sir? He's in the middle area. And DD is waiting, looking for more anti-force buy, anti-eco frags, and indeed he will get them. The king keeps his throne. 3-round lead for TyLoo. MVP, not much to offer in this particular round with the Glocks. They can barely afford to buy P250s in this particular round, so TyLoo looking really good for an 11-7 round.
I mean, MVP didn't do enough damage in that previous round with that rush onto long. They only ended up getting 1 kill in the end. I mean, they gave such good engagements there to TyLoo, and that could really hurt them. And this is okay. Aggression like this is completely fine when the other team has just Glocks. When you know that, it is fine to rush up mid to do crazy plays, but not when they have Tech 9 armor. So a nice distinction there, and one play will go down. All the information is found as well, but you can see the information allows aggression, allows the CTs to bring themselves into more forward positions. And that's another reason why getting that information is really good in a round like this, on this map in particular, because it's always going to be an open fragging situation where the rifles are very powerful. So 11-7 indeed. AWP comes in for Mo. No AWP is able to be afforded by MVP though.
All right then, MVP with limited grenades. See what they can do. We've got 3 players deep towards long for TyLoo. Maybe expecting some fast aggression there, but there is no such aggression from MVP, who themselves have 3 players around the A area, long area, sorry. Lower tunnel has been taken, so pretty much standard approach from the T's. Need to be scared of what may be lurking behind that short smoke. Although it would be very unlikely for TyLoo to be there in this particular situation. You never know. Someone's going to surprise you. Somebody going for an early pick.
Yeah.
Pre-aiming. I think Sign was behind the box near the car. And that is not a frag you see every day. But MVP going to pretty much ignore it for the time being, not expecting a flank. The fast play will begin. Mo looking over the smoke. The flashbangs are here this time. He's still alive, though, for the time being. He's got support from a teammate as well. Nobody on Goose, though. Trades. Argency and Rinda remain versus 3. I think Argency lost man standing, getting a nice tag on somebody. Now he's giving himself a chance.
Yeah, slim chance, though. He has to get the bomb planted still, which will be difficult to achieve. Has to find that frag first. He does have some time to do it as well. There isn't really time to run to the other bomb side, especially considering that he would be hurt all along the way. So he's committed to go for this A play. Heads popping up all over the place, playing whack-a-mole is Argency, and he is going to win the round with that. That is unreal there for the quad kill as well. Argency brings it home, and that is a very unlikely situation there. TyLoo were in a spot where they could have forced him to go for the plant with such low time on the clock. But Argency doesn't have to work too hard here to find the kills. They're just hopping around all over the place, asking for death.
Chunks of death?
Not quite.
It was pretty much almost the same spot where the chunks of death, the legendary chunks of death, made their appearance. So we have a nice play from Fancy in lower tunnel, and he's definitely going to take them by surprise. Normally you get a flashbang in this position, but no such flashbang here. And that will be early disadvantages for MVP. Down to 3 versus 3 though, so the continued aggression from TyLoo perhaps not working out for them. Rinder's made his way into long, so his team could potentially wait for him to go for a flank. I mean, with so many players missing now for TyLoo, they're going to have holes in their defense. It's just about if MVP can find those holes and exploit them.
Yeah, it's always very scary when you're up against rounds like this where the Tech 9s come out, but looks like Attacker's able to do more than equalize the situation. Their big advantage picks up the bomb as well. Rinda now has to come in from A-long, which is no easy task. Now the CTs have the bomb, they can set up around it, which is exactly what they've done. They don't have to even face it all. If they don't want to give a possibility for Rinda to take an early kill, they can just force him to come close into their crossfires and guarantee that nobody dies. And exactly that would be the situation. 12-8. 3 players surviving there, and MVP are they're in an awful spot there. Their money has been crippled after winning a round. It's all taken away by TyLoo, and they're in the home stretch now, potentially 4 more, and they can take Dust 2 away from MVP and secure themselves the playoff spots.
So indeed you can see Simon DD and somebody up there in the kills for TyLoo. Simon doing great work cleaning out the eco and anti-eco rounds. Still holding on to a narrow lead. That was interesting. They had a player in a previous round. MVP had a player on long, but they chose to do most of the work with the 2 players in mid going through the doors. Do wonder what the plan was when they had a player on long.
It is quite cool as well. TyLoo is just like giving MVP a taste of their own medicine with the lower dark push. Oh, there you go. Mo catches HSK.
Yeah.
Almost getting himself a second one as well. And again, you can see that MVP put the aggression in better spots. And when we were watching, TyLoo putting the aggression in better spots. When we were watching the inverse with MVP on the CT side, it felt like they were just putting aggression in just for the sake of it. It was going well for them, but I don't think 10 out of 10 times that's going to be the case. Maybe 2 out of 10 Dust 2s, they're going to have that big success rate against TyLoo. Either way, 13-8, and still MVP with nothing more than pistols to offer.
Yeah, this is quite a worrying situation now for MVP at this point.
What is going on here for TyLoo? They're sending everybody in upper dark. Maybe they feel like MVP are buying here as well.
Oh, man, that nade.
Oh, no. Sad times.
They will continue, but somebody has gone all the way back, and these pistols, the P250s are crap at its range. It's that simple. Although so many of them, somebody holding an off angle, so I mean he could have just probably picked a lot of them off, but he will do anyway, so that's fine. Argency, last man standing. P250 eventually getting 1 kill, but maybe a consolation kill in this round. As TyLoo look good to move towards 14. shenanigans have come to a close. And TyLoo have extended their lead to 6. MVP coming in for the buy now. They are at, well, they're not at maximum loss bonus just yet, but they're going to have a full buy, and that's the main thing. Those 4 players, well, HSK aside, all bought those grenades at the same time. It was like a unison. I think it was a grenade bind. The way they just all appeared at the same time.
This is strange. We haven't seen this in ages. Auto sniper purchase. That is, for some reason, it feels like it's becoming more and more rare. But it has glorious new sounds as well, which should only incentivize people to buy them more.
That's very bassy indeed. If you like
Look at this
bass,
setup as well, James.
if you like bass, you've come to the right club.
Yeah.
This setup is nasty.
They're already surrounding them.
This setup is built to do damage. Oh man,
Sounds good.
he got too close to the speaker, Dan, and then blew up in his face.
And the push from Lower Dark comes in from the same time here from the CTs. Attacker in there. Look at this perfect setup from TyLoo. The entire round, they set up a perimeter around the push, and MVP had no idea. Now they've lost the bomb in Dark, and how on earth are they going to go and collect that?
That was beautiful, Dan. It was like a picture of the finest English rose.
Yeah, that was
glistening in the sun.
Absolutely.
But it's not over yet. Yes, they have the bomb. There's still a minute on the clock. That's definitely not a good Molotov. The MVP are being very slow. Sign is on long. Okay, now he's starting to shift. He needs to shift. And by shift, I mean move. English slang, of course, not hold shift, because that'd be walk. 38 seconds left, and MVP needs to keep moving. They're in the B bomb site now. But, okay, Molotov, that's good, that's good. It's a very important position to cancel out. He can pop flash for his teammates as well, even if it's a rudimentary one. Avoided, though, by DD. He will get another kill, and one more. So TyLoo passed the test and moved to match point.
It's amazing, really. It honestly felt like they just knew that read was so insane. We're going to put the auto sniper there. We're also just going to hold 2 people in Lower Dark when you're pushing B right at the start of the round. Before they had any information that was going to be the play, that setup was just perfect. Unreal, to be honest, and that's going to give them a really good spot now. 15-8, just one more round. And they have the double AWP setup coming in. Somebody and Mo, very capable AWPers, and they want to keep the aggression going. This is awesome to see. Just that charging up middle. This is what we like.
Indeed, but are they going to go too far? MVP waiting for them. And they've got AKs. The meat shots coming in from the Deagle. That is great stuff. Early advantages. This is descending into Bedlam. Sign exiting the long area. Will MVP rotate towards B halls, B tunnels. Sign will be lurking top mid. Somebody and Fancy Summer going for information towards long. They'll see that nobody's there, and they will realize that they are in the longest rotation to be.
But if Mo picks up a couple kills here, this makes this really awesome here for TyLoo potentially. And they do have a handful of grenades to MVP. Oh, Fancy picks himself up the kill, walks through the smoke. Very important kill. Now it's up to Mo. He takes down Rinder. There's more players to follow, though. Just cleaning everything up. I think he even connected that one. Argency down onto 16 points of health. Has to go for the bomb plant. And, oh, he gets shot. I don't even know if he even faced that. Just shot through the door. And that is Argency gone. And TyLoo, it was a rough start for them in that first half, but they showed their dominance moving into the CT side and made it look foolish. Made anyone look like a fool who was questioning their performance in that first half.
Yeah, I mean, when both teams started to string rounds together, it tended to be four rounds in a row, then 4 rounds in a row for the other team, and so back and forward. But then TyLoo ran away with it, finishing in a 16-8. So a strong performance from a strong team. Definitely some warning shots. I mean, again, going back to MVP CT half, it was great to see the aggression, but perhaps they took it a bit too far on the anti-eco, closing distance on tech lines, and paid for it, giving up the AWP.
At the same time, it was a pretty decent score to go into the second half with, and they were unable to really show that they had enough rounds on that second half. Like the CT side was just a little bit lackluster, rather the T side was a bit lackluster, and they couldn't string the rounds together in the right way. And when you see an auto sniper come out, typically that is a bit of a show of we're comfortable here. We can handle any situation. So yeah, it does seem though like we have our friends back on the desk, James.
Indeed we do, Sir Scoots.
Hey, are we friends? High five.
I hope so, at least. Maybe not by the end of today, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, we'll wait till Sunday to hate each other.
Yeah,
maybe. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Let's get into it, gentlemen. Again, kind of a weird second side by MVP. They just could not get any sort of consistency going. One round on that second side.
I guess one thing is consistent, and that is that their key sides have not been impressive.
There you go.
So there is some consistency to be found, at least with what we're seeing. But obviously, it's a bit of a shame to see, especially because with their CT sides, and this is something that both Dan and James talked about during the game, the fact that their CT sides, they're being proactive and they're actually trying to do stuff. And I really enjoyed actually seeing that both teams had very aggressive CT sides. I think that's super fun to watch on a map like Dust 2, because otherwise you oftentimes see teams get bogged down in the same cookie cutter setup that you do every single round. So even though it had mixed luck, well, to be fair, actually it worked out pretty well, at least initially for MVP, but even though it fell off towards the later stages of the first half, I think it's excellent to see that coming out of MVP. It's just a shame that they haven't more to come up with on their T side.
Yeah,
or the fact that they're not good at understanding how to play versus aggressive setups when they themselves use it.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams struggle with understanding how do we adjust against aggressiveness, and MVP definitely showing that to be the case for them as well. Same for as long as TyLoo was playing a more slow-paced, kind of methodical T-side, and MVP had the chance to dictate the pace of the game, and they could do their aggressiveness. But once TyLoo picked up the pace and started playing more fast-paced, you could see that they just faltered on the CT side. And then they also lost a 2-4 in there as well.
Yeah.
And he takes it the kind of rounds that you're just not allowed to. And it's kind of this kind of a matchup. And also, second half, I mean, TyLoo was relentless. They were everywhere. So it's super hard to play against, obviously. But you can do that by having some kind of rule of thumb of what if these kind of things happen, how do we react to it, and who's going to do what in those situations. And sometimes it just doesn't seem like they have that kind of a thing going for themselves.
I think we're going to see like a before Rambo and after Rambo kind of a era with this MVP team, or at least I hope so. I hope that's going to be the outcome of it, really, because it's very fundamental things, but you need I think some teams just need that kind of a guy to constantly stand behind them and hammer it in to the point where it's like just on the inside of your brain at any given time. So you're aware of it, even though not just subconsciously, but just it's something that you always think about.
Yeah, and again, he's been doing some pre-strat work with them, remotely, but it's quite different when he can be the guy standing behind them, calling a timeout, settling them back down, all those kind of things.
With his no peek bat.
It's with a no peek bat. I'll let him borrow my bat.
But it's way easier to be in the same environment and then first of all just have like a demo and then go round by round. Okay, this is a mistake you guys did. Really pinpointing real small details in the games.
Well, let's look at the scoreboard. And again, keep in mind, MVP is not out. They just fall down to the lower bracket. They will play the winner of NXL and Atletico, which is our next match. So what jumps out here for you, Vendetta?
Well, first off, as the kind of the dropper from Sign, if you're looking at it from MVP's point of view. But I think the bigger thing is somebody in DD. We talked about it during the pre-show at the start of the day. For me, these are the two most exciting players on that TyLoo team. I think they're the best players on that TyLoo team after having seen them play for the better part of a year now. So them showing up in kind of the game that matters the most during the group stage for them is to be expected and also a good sign for TyLoo going further.
Natu, for you?
I mean, that's got to be the storyline. Somebody and Simon DD catch me off guard. Them both having, I think somebody had 110 ADR and DD had like 105. So they were getting their frags, but also dealing a lot of damage.
And then what you also saw there on the stats, we're using So Strong's system. Right,
So strong.
They're partnered. Yeah, so strong. They're partnered with PGL on this. They help do some of the qualifier stuff for this event, and they've come up with this impact rating system, which takes into all sorts of variables. If you actually go to the website, there's a sheet that kind of breaks down, but it looks at stuff like how you did after a plant versus before a plant, and adds certain point. Did you win a 1v3? That's worth X amount for you for your impact rating. Versus did you lose? Were you on the losing side of a 1v3? Those kind of things. It's kind of a neat system.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, we always talk about impact frags, right? I mean, having some metrics for how do we determine which one is an impact frag, and then having kind of a number to showcase. Okay, these are the impact frags is very cool because it's we see a lot of situations where a player gets a lot of XA frags. I think last week I remember a game with Simple having like almost 40 kills in a game, but most of them being like XA frags, not having high impact in the game. So that's a great metric to have.
And then update in my ear, Renegades, VG Cyberzen, playing Cobblestone, 13-3 at last check. Renegades winning.
Yeah.
Now 13-5, so the comeback is coming.
The comeback is real. I'm assuming VG are now on the T side then.
That I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Maybe.
no, but
Your crystal ball doesn't
one
tell
could
you.
assume being Cobble, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Would
That would
make
make
sense.
perfect sense. And now we've got our MVP. Why don't you go walk us through this big fella?
Well, that's DD, obviously one of the many heavy hitters on that TyLoo side, and you could tell 26 kills, barely dying throughout the entire game even, and also doing all of that while getting a fairly significant amount of opening kills for his team in 7. And and obviously, as evident by his headshots rating, he's pretty good at what he does as of right now. And what's really cool for TyLoo is that he's been the kind of guy who's been stepping out more and more when they've been playing in international tournaments, which is really fun to see that he's not just someone who does well within his region. He can do well versus anyone. It doesn't matter who you throw at him. He can still dome heads.
All right. Anything else to add?
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
it's pretty straightforward right now. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this section. Now we move into the second half of our day, and it's all best of threes from here on out. We're down to the lower bracket of Group A, so everyone gets 3 maps to either lose 2 in barbecue, so to speak, or move on.
The good old
UGP scene. We lost a lot and barbecued a lot. It's going to be NXL taking on Atletico when we come back after the break.